Hey lovely, so welcome back to Reviews and Recaps. Today I actually want to talk about Shamea. I want to talk about how I feel like she exposed herself during this episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta. I will also talk about like other things that I feel like I caught and I really wanted to talk about when it comes to this particular episode. Um but I think I want to talk about the Shamea of it all. The Shamea of it all. First of all, I thought the conversation between Kelly and Shamea was very, very lackluster. Especially if you're calling somebody your new best friend, I would have expected a little bit more chemistry between them. I don't know if it's just me, but I kind of find their interactions very performative. I don't get the energy that there is that much. Yeah, I don't really get that much chemistry between them. I don't really get that much chemistry between Kelly and Shamea. It's very much given, yeah, it's very much given like they're forcing themselves or they're forcing it on us a little bit. Like I have no doubts they're probably friends and whatnot, but I just don't think they have like a natural chemistry that I find entertaining to watch. Now, I may be the only one that feels this way, but I genuinely don't because I know some people like the whole Shamia and Kelly team up. But for me, I don't really find the scenes between both of them that enjoyable, if I'm being completely honest. Now, guys, hit that like button as you guys come in. That helps as a free way to support the channel. So if you like this type of content, hit that like button so that at least other people can find the content as well. Or hit that dislike button if you don't like what I'm saying, okay? Either way, it works. Now, back to Kelly and Shamia. I felt like Kelly was talking a little bit about what she was going through and how she's going through a divorce. I think what was interesting is she's talking about how she really needs a trip. And then Shamia then talks about, kind of makes it into like, yeah, the trip would be really good for us. I'm like, girl, first of all, your friend is out here talking about how she's going through a divorce and needs a trip. And then all of a sudden you've made it about you. Like, what are we doing? Like what is that about? Like you can't give it a moment and just be like yes, no, and empathize with her about the divorce without like turning it into what you want to do or how you feel like you need a trip. Like girl, please. Anyways, let's move on to the bit I really want to talk about. Well, certain parts I want to talk about, but I want to talk about Shamia going on a radio show to be shading Drew. Like Shamia, why do you have such a hard on for Drew? And I know a lot of people are, you know, shouting or talking about the fact that they feel like Shamia is a lap dog energy, all of that kind of stuff. But I think it's even beyond that. I think Shamia has certain unresolved feelings towards Drew. Is it because of Drew's music? Is it because you see Drew as a competitor in the music world? Like, what is it about Drew, Shamia, that keeps getting you pressed? Because it looks like you're pressed. Because how are you on a radio show meant to be promoting your music and other things that you have going on, but you're turning it into a Drew conversation? You're talking about lyrics to her songs. I don't even know the lyrics to her songs. So, baby, it's giving you a fan, Shamia. It's giving you a haterous fan. Like you're just out here being a hater, but you're also a fan. It's like a secret undercover hater and fan. That is what it's given. And it's not a good look. I remember when Shamia first came on. I like Shamia. I've always loved her energy on the show as a friend of the show. And when she came on the first episode, um I was loving the wealth. I was loving what she was showing us. Of course, I did give certain criticisms about how she was coming across. But for me, my issue is how do you go to a radio show and make it about Drew? That is a problem. That shows that I don't know if there's some insecurity within yourself, within how you feel about yourself, but mama, it's not looking good. It's looking like you're a hater, it's looking like jealous of Drew's success in music. And I understand, right? You're trying to do something and someone is doing it. Okay, girl, clap for them so that hopefully yours will work out too. Ride for their music. You guys could have had a collaboration. You guys could have had a good song together. If you stop being a hater and genuinely support the person who is doing good in this season when it comes to music. I feel like it doesn't have to be like, oh, one person is the only person that can succeed in music. There is more than enough room for everybody. And I just wish that Shamea does not end up looking like a hater. Too bad she already looks like a hater, in my opinion, because of the way she's coming at Drew. Since episode 1, she's always been coming at Drew. Portia has not even confronted Drew. You're constantly, Drew, I heard this, Drew, I heard that. It's like, girl, rest, relax, chill. This ain't your fight. But now it's looking like even Drew and Portia are cool. It's given you still have a hard on. Because now, why are you talking about her music? Why do you know the lyrics to her music? Only to then shade her about the lyrics to her music. Like, girl, please, relax. And so I just feel like she's overdoing it. I feel like she's performative. I feel like she thought that she was going to come on the show and be a fan favorite. And at first she was. But now that people are starting to know her, people are not feeling her. I remember, like, I looked in the comments and I was seeing people saying, oh, she's annoying now. She's this, she's that. And that's how things turn. And I wish that these housewives, when they come on the show, just choose to be themselves. I feel like having someone as a friend of the show for so long, I actually feel like there needs to be a rule. If you have been a friend of the show for so long, you should never get a peach. And the only reason I say this is because, do you guys remember Marlo? Marlo was a friend of the show for so long. We loved her on the show as a friend of the show. She brought good entertainment, good energy. It was lovely. I liked Marlo on the show as a friend of. Fast forward to her getting a peach, and I couldn't stand her. And so I feel like it's almost like because these people have spent so long performing, they've spent so long trying to make sure that they get a peach, overdoing it, doing too much. And I feel like because they spend so much time overdoing it, trying to get a peach, by the time they finally get the peach, I feel like they're already in such a performative state. They feel like, yo, I need to keep this peach, so I have to do over and beyond. I have to do so much. I have to escalate things. And then you're just throwing dirt, throwing the mud, whatever sticks. That is what Shamea is now coming across as. It's coming across as she is just throwing whatever she can. And the best person to throw stuff at is Drew. Because Drew don't be having good enough comebacks, in my opinion, at least in the moment. Now, I will say, in the scene where it was at the Polo Classic, or what do they call it? Golf Classic or Community Class, whatever Brit's event was called. We'll talk about that event in a second. But whatever that event was called, at least Drew stood up for herself, which I'm glad that she did. But I feel like there's still so much more that Drew could have said. And I think Drew is keeping it cute. And I'm like, honey, I know you want to keep it cute because, of course, you do other things outside of the show, and I'm completely here for it. But I still feel like you can still clap back and defend yourself from people like that. Now, that said, we'll talk about how Shamea behaved in a second. But I just think Shamea needs to quit it. Whenever she goes on interviews, stop talking about random people. Let people focus on the music you're trying to put out. Let people focus on what you bring to the table. But now that I think about it, please hit that like button as you guys come in. The likes are not matching the amount of people in this room. Guys, hit that like button, please. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to what I was saying. I feel like the thing with Shamea that I'm starting to feel like is her downfall in this season. I feel like the fact that she cannot bring her husband on the show, I feel like that limits a lot of her stories. A lot of her storyline is limited. Imagine you're a housewife, but you can't show your housewife life. You can only show the wealth, but you can't show what your dynamic or what the dynamics are with your husband. That is a disservice because that's a huge part. Think about Angela. One of the reasons that Angela is bringing so much and we're loving Angela is because Angela also has her husband there. She has a storyline with her husband, Charles. She brought her mom on the show. So it's like, oh, and rest in peace to her mom. So sorry, Angela, about your loss, if you ever listen to this, right? But if you think about it like that, it's there are other layers to being a housewife that I feel like Angela is able to bring to the show, but Shamea is unable to bring that to the show. So if you're unable to film your home life, you can't film with your spouse. That is so much that you could have talked about on the show, but you can't. Think about it. Angela gets a lot of scenes with Charles. I've almost every episode she's had at least one scene with Charles. That adds to the story. That adds to the element of being able to engage. That adds to the whole experience that we get of Angela on the show. And so I feel that Shamea not being able to film with her husband is definitely limiting significantly her storyline. And I think that's why she's like pushing the whole Portia thing. And that's why now, if you notice from episode 1, she was constantly in the mess. She was the one that brought the whole what are you doing with Dennis thing. She seems to be the one trying to stir the pot with a lot of these conversations. Because deep down, she knows she does not have any storyline. That is her storyline. The way she engages with the group is her storyline. Being everyone's best friend is the storyline. But I feel like there has to be a balance because you can't be out here constantly trying to be friends with everyone, constantly trying to kiki with everyone, and then pick on somebody like Drew because you feel like Drew is the easy target. Drew, honey, I'm gonna need you to put a little bit more batteries in your back. Or get somebody to put some batteries in your back. I need you to fight for yourself and defend yourself a little bit more on the show. And stop allowing these people to come for you. You are currently a peach holder. Now, I don't know how long that is going to last, but you're currently a peach holder, honey. So I'm gonna need you to put those batteries in your back and push back a whole lot more so people don't feel like you're an easy target that everyone can come at. It doesn't make any sense. Please hit that like button as you guys come in. Please hit that like button. So I do think that Shamea needs to give it a rest when it comes to Drew's music career. Honey, you don't even have an album out. So until you have an album that is doing as good as Drew is doing, I'm gonna need you to put a lid on it. Because at the moment it comes across as you're a hater. It comes across as you're being jealous. And it comes across as you're being mean-spirited. I was reading like some comments and I know people, say a lot of different things, but some things I agree with. I was seeing some comments and some people are talking about how they feel like Shamea is a disappointment. It's like excuse me, you started off like with all this energy, all this, all of that, and then it feels like low key dipped. And it's worse because people start to forget how good you made them feel at the start. And then remember what happened recently. So, like for instance, Angela started off slow, but now everyone loves Angela towards the end of the show because of all that we remember the moments that she's now recently brought to us. That is what is at the forefront of our minds, not what she did at the start. That's why they say sometimes it's not about how you start, but how you finish. And at the moment, it's not looking like you're finishing strong. It's looking like you're finishing sad at the moment. And bear in mind, like, I like Shamea. So, but I'm saying this more as what I am seeing when I watch the show, when I listen to her interviews, when I watch how she comes across. It's not looking good, bruv. It's giving you're exposing yourself as a hater. And nobody likes a hater. I know a lot of people were talking about Portia being jealous of Shamea, blah, blah, blah. Now, people are saying that Shamea is jealous of Drew. It's like how that turned around. Just like that. So now everyone thinks you're jealous of Drew because you can't stop talking about her music. And you're talking about, like, yes, the rumor is overshadowing this. No, it really isn't. Because word on the street is Drew's album is really good. Now, if you guys have listened to Drew's album, let me know in the chat. But word on the street is the album is good. That's what I heard. So, but nobody is really talking about Never Had, Never Had. I don't even know the song, but that's the only line I know. But, like, no one is really talking about that. Or maybe they are and I'm not seeing it. So you guys keep me straight in the comments. But it's not looking good for you. Now let's talk about this freaking sorry ass event that Brit threw. Now, Brit, here's the thing. Brit, how do you have an event without food? How dreadful. Event without food. Like, it doesn't look good. Why invite those people? Why? It's given, are they paid actors? Why invite them anyway? Like, if you knew that you could only cater to the people on that table, then you should have only had the people on that table. Make it a thing. Have those people on the table. Invite all of the people, all of the girlies, have a nice dinner. They can bring their husband, give them some food, drink champagne constantly. I could have paid for that event. Looking like that. But having an event where some guests are eating and some guests are not eating is the ghetto. Even actually, it's a disrespect to ghetto. I'm sorry, ghetto. No, it's absolutely beyond dreadful. I've never been to an event where there's food for some and not food for others. That is wild. If you knew you couldn't do a party or throw an event, you should have limited the number of people you want to invite to the event. It's stupid. It doesn't look good. And it was interesting because even being there, whilst you're distributing your products and the others are not getting anything, I looked around and I saw someone's face. I saw if you guys go back and watch the episode, there was this lady's face. She looks like, what the hell did I sign myself up for? Why am I here? Is the vibe that person got. That's what she looks like. You could have just made it an intimate thing. It would have been so classy. You wouldn't have spent so much money on it, but the champagne would be constantly flowing. Food for the number of people you want the food to be for. That could have been good. But instead, you decided to have extras, but not be able to cater for extras. That is terrible. If it was a Nigerian party, honey, people will not stop talking about it. They will drag you from left, right, center about you having a party without food. Not to talk of a situation where the food finishes. Like, girl, what do you think this is? If you can't throw a party, then stay at home. Nobody forced you to bring out bare naked and have a bare naked party with people that, with more people than you can afford to have an event for. Now, I don't know if it's affordability. I don't know if it's like not thinking through things properly. Whatever the case may be, it's not good. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that again. Having a party without food is blatantly crazy to me. Like, you could have kept that and just said, no, bravo, I don't have the budget or something. That's crazy work. You can't pay me enough to have a party without food just for TV. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Absolutely not. Now, let's move on to talk about Angela, Brit, and Charles. That was a very awkward scene, in my opinion. And I say that because Angela, baby, you like to stir it up, in my opinion. Now, of course, you're good for reality TV, but you like to stir it up because why else are you talking about your husband in front of him and the girlies? He looks like this is so awkward. Like, why am I here? Why? That's what it looks like. Like, is it necessary to be talking about the girlies or to be talking in front of the girlies and talking in front of Charles about Charles? She was literally like, well, Charles doesn't have an outside baby. I'm like, girl, I thought you lot done talked about it. You've settled it. Why do you have to say it in front of Charles and bring that to the table? That was just distasteful for me. It completely felt like it was very left field. It was very like, where did that even come from? Like, honey, why? I was Drew when I was watching that. Because Drew's face was like, huh? That was me. I was like, girl, that is crass. Very, very crass. Please hit that like button as you guys come in. I'm just talking about the latest episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta. So hit that like button. Thank you very much. Okay. So I was just like, that is so crass. Like, I'm not going to be in front of my man and then I'm going to talk about, like, yeah, my man does not have a baby. Like, girl, what? We already talked about it. We don't moved on from it. Unless I'm having a, like, it just seemed very left field. Now, it could have been that, like, it wasn't so random and there was conversation that led up to it, but it felt very abrupt. I don't know if it's also partly to do with the editing, because you know how allegedly these people like to edit a lot. So who knows? Maybe it could be something like that. Whatever the case may be, it was very awkward, very abrupt. I felt like it just didn't need to be there in that moment. So yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Now, after that did happen though, Brit then took it to another level, which I just don't get. So Brit was like, well, I'm not one of your whores or Charles's whores. And then Charles was like, I don't mess with whores. I'm like, first of all, can I even say whores on YouTube? I hope so. Um, but I'm not gonna say it again. Hopefully. But Charles was like, he doesn't mess with the W's, right? So he's like, I do not mess with those. And it was just unnecessarily awkward because I was just thinking, like, what are we doing, guys? This is ridiculous. Now, Brit and Angela did squash it. I will say about Brit, the fact that this lady told you you got miles on your mouth and you were able to squash it like that, it's testament that you may be okay in my book. You may be okay for another season of Real Housewives of Atlanta. Now, I need to see more of you to see if we really can take your nasal sounding voice another season. But I like when people can move the story along. Instead of having a whole season of beef about you saying the miles on your mouth comment, right? I love that she was willing to squash it and move on. Because I feel like that really helps move the show forward. I hate unnecessary, dragged out beefs that brings nothing to the show. Like, I'm annoyed by the whole Drew and Portia and Dennis nonsense. I feel like it's been dragged out way too long. for way too long. It's ridiculous. And so for me, I just love the fact that Drew, why do I keep saying Drew? Brit was just like, sure, like let's squash it. Cool. And that was it. I feel like now that it would be very interesting to see what the relationship will be with Angela and Brit moving forward. I suspect maybe Brit knows I can't really mess with Angela because I do not want her saying anything wilder than I have miles in my mouth. Okay. So I suspect Brit will be on her best behavior. I just wonder whether Brit is better as a friend of the show rather than a full-time cast mate or cast member, because I was watching like the after show, right? And Portia and Phaedra were keying and laughing and getting along. And Brit was barely there, in my opinion. It was almost like she was there but wasn't there. Please hit that like button, guys. Hit that like button. The likes are still not matching. Please hit that like button. So it was given like Brit was barely there. I was like, girl, how are you like hidden? Like, anybody see that you're there? Like, what is going on? Is it that you don't have enough of a personality? Like, what is it? Or do you feel like the fact that you're a pretty girl has allowed you to be in certain rooms all of the time that you feel like you don't ever have to say anything and your face is enough? Now, I will say that face card is beautiful. She is a gorgeous woman. Her and Drew Sidora, those women are beautiful. Now, all of them are beautiful in their own rights, but I want to talk about Drew Sidora and Brit's face card today. Okay, they are gorgeous women. And so maybe Brit has grown up feeling like she never really has to like talk. She just has to be there and her beauty is enough. But baby, you're going to have to do a lot more than be beautiful to stay on a show like this, in my opinion. Because your good looks, your good face is not going to do that much for you. I hate to say it. Yes, of course, there's always pretty privilege. I get it. But at the same time, it is not going to do much for you in the long term because you already had it with Kenya. So people already don't like you. So unless you bring something extra likable, something, a nice vibe, something that people can genuinely look at and be like, okay, Brit is okay in my book. Unless you bring that energy, people are not going to be messing with you. So for you to be in scenes or anything where you're barely visible, nobody knows who Brit is, nobody knows what Brit brings to the dynamic, to all of that. People don't like that. Nobody likes that. And so, Brit, I'm gonna need you to clock in. Baby, your pretty face is not gonna do it. I need you to clock all the way in. Please and thank you if you want to stay on the show. I will say, I still haven't gotten over the way she sounds. If I'm being completely honest, I struggle with the nasal sounding voice. I wish that there is something that she can do to open her airways a little bit so we can hear her. Because I think that also adds to it. Because it's like, girl, you're fine, but I'm going to need you to be able to speak clearly so we can engage. But aside that, she's all right so far. I just need her to bring it on the show. Now, before I respond, let me pick up this comment. I believe Angela was like, now you can bring it up, Charles, since they talk so much about the side baby. Yeah, beyond my own thoughts, I actually agree. I like your name, by the way. But I actually agree with you. I feel like there's an element of Angela is like, yeah, these people are always talking about you. Let me bring it up. I get it. But I still think like there's a way to bring it up. This one just seemed very directed, almost like it was directed by freaking production, honey. That is what it was given. It was so random. The way it was brought was so like hella weird, man. So it caught me by surprise. I was just there like, okay, girl, like that is very distasteful the way that was like added into the conversation. For me, that's just what I felt. Um, but I will say, like, so far, Angela is clocking in. I do not have any complaints about Angela. I will say, you guys already know how I feel about how she likes to stir the pots and stuff, but it's good for the show. What can I say? It brings the people to the yard, right? It makes us watch the show because so far this season has not given much. If we're being completely honest, this season has not given what it needed to give. It's not given what I would have thought they would have promised us, because when they were talking about, oh, this season is so good. Okay, girl. I well, it's not looking like it is. It's not looking like it, is it? Is it that good? It's not giving that. So that's why I say, when I feel like every time they hype these seasons and they make it seem like, oh, it's going to be so good and it's going to be so this and it's going to be so that. And then you watch it and it's such a bore, it's such a drag. And I feel like that's what I'm getting from this season. Yeah, I feel like it's all right, but it's not like I'm not excited about the season so far. I'm just there like, okay, the girls are doing okay. Angela is doing all right. I feel like I miss having happy Portia. I need Portia to get her life together so she can be the happy girl I love over here on YouTube. Shamea, girl, it's like, what are you doing? Now you had the folks falling in love with you in the first episode. Now the folks don't like you anymore because you're doing entirely too much. You're too performative. People are not buying the Kool-Aid anymore or drinking the Kool-Aid anymore. So I'm just like, girl, it ain't looking good for you, bro. It really isn't looking good. Um, but if I let me digress a little bit. Things beyond my own thoughts for engaging. But yeah, let me digress a little bit. Let's talk about Shamea and Drew for a second. What did you guys think about the Shamea and Drew situation? I want to know. Let me know in the chat. What did you think about the Shamea and Drew situation? I feel, this is my opinion, and I know some of y'all may feel like I'm dragging Shamea too much or whatever. And the thing is, I wish I don't have to, but I have to call things as I see it. Now, is Drew wrong for calling Shamea a lapdog? Absolutely. Nobody likes to be called a lapdog. I completely get how well, I don't completely get it because ain't nobody called me a lapdog, but I can imagine how Shamea feels about being called a lapdog. It must not feel nice. I get it. I don't get it, but I empathize. Okay. But I feel like Shamea lost a good opportunity. She took it entirely too far. When Drew started to say, this is how I felt, this is the reason that I said what I said, right? Drew was saying, like, yeah, she felt like it was something that was positive that she said at the studio, but Shamea took that to Portia and made it and put some sauce in it, right? Now, Drew, I don't think it was positive, baby. I'm not slow. I don't think the viewers are slow. We know it was a little shady, okay? So cut that out. We know it was a little shady, but you're allowed to feel how you feel, right? Because you're thinking, why are you going to go and take that to Portia, especially when you did not like that we took information. Well, Drew didn't even take the information, Angela did, right? That Shamea was saying about Portia. So it's like, girl, how you finna be upset and then take information like this to Portia and not, and put some sauce in it. So I get where Drew is coming from, but I don't think Drew is innocent either, because Drew, baby, there was no reason for you to bring Pilar into it. You could have left Pilar out of that and said all you wanted to say about the music. So I feel like, Drew, you're doing too much. It's the same way I feel like you constantly talking about Dennis, your angel. You knew what you were doing. You set it up in that way. So I feel like you acting like, oh, it's all innocent and Portia wanted a storyline. I feel like you all needed a storyline, in my opinion. It's given you all needed a storyline, and that's what it was about. Now, back to this whole lapdog business. So, like I said, I get it. You want to confront the person that called you a lapdog. I get it. But girl, how the heck do you get upset about being called a lapdog and then start behaving like a dog? Why are you barking? It's like, girl, why are you barking? It is not landing. And this is what I was saying in when I did the first episode. I believe when I talked about the first episode and when Shamea was on, I said I really like her and stuff, but there's some things that I'm like, it feels like she's doing too much. And I feel like this is an example of doing entirely too much. What was the reason? All I can think about is the meme. What was the reason? What was the reason? That is exactly how I feel, Shamea. What was the reason? How you gonna be side face, barking, telling her to kiss your MF ass, B, because she is trying to take accountability for what she said and explain to you how she felt? Girl, that could have been a genuine kiki moment. Okay, girl, I do not like being called a lapdog. I don't think you would like it if I called you that. Or if I called, do you get, you could have said that. It could have been a good moment. You guys could have squashed it. We could have moved on. But no. Instead, you decided to be a child about it and act out. To the point where Portia, that was sitting right next to you, was like, I'm out. Portia left early. Cynthia left early because Cynthia did not want to be bothered with the BS. Cynthia was probably like, I just got out of a plane ride to Atlanta to be here, and this is the circus that I'm in. Please, I'm out. They don't pay me well enough for this ish. That's probably Cynthia in her mind thinking like, girl, I got to go. Same as Portia, they clocked out. They did not want no part of the ghetto ish. Okay. They did not want to be part of the circus. And that's what I say when I say Shamea does too much. There was no need for the barking. There was no need. That could have been okay, girl, I do not like being called a lapdog. That is terrible. Don't ever do that. And if you do that again, I will be pissed at you. You could have said that. You could have had strong words. You could have said how it made you feel. But instead, you decided to act like exactly what you were being called. Sis, that is a disservice to you, honey. And I hope you watch this season back and sit down and take accountability. I hope you do. But I doubt that you would. And I say that because when the whole thing got to Portia about what you were saying about her, you did not take accountability. Instead, you kind of gaslit all of us, including Portia, to make it seem like I would never put our friendship on the line to be talked about. Girl, you did. Every time they play it back to that scene, I always say, girl, you did. Like, are you delusional or what? So I just feel like, yeah, Shamea, baby, I like you, girl, but I need you to watch this season back and think about how you want to show up in the next season. Because whatever you're doing, baby, this ain't it. It is not looking good for you. Please hit that like button, guys. It is not looking good. Okay? So that's how I feel about that. Now, the other thing I do want to talk about is Freak and Frack. Okay? So Freak and Frack are back. Oh, also, there's something else I want to talk about with you guys about Drew. You guys may have seen that on social media. We'll come back to that in a second. But Drew is out here with Ralph. Girl, I have a lot of thoughts about it, but we gonna watch it together and we'll talk about it in a second. But let's talk about Freak and Frack for a second. Okay, Freak and Frack. I feel like I know they said that they've kept in touch and all of that. I don't know about that. I feel like, yeah, they probably kept in touch on social media, but I don't really think that they've been speaking like friends Anyways, hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. What are you doing? Hit it, smash it. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and also share with your friend, your sister, everybody, your ex, you know, everybody, honey. Anyways, I will talk to you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye.